Hey everybody, this is Andy, aka Love Retro BTW, across Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I do a podcast every Saturday called Cafe BTW, a morning gaming podcast, a retrospective look at the wonderful world of retro gaming, from interviews to guests. Join us every Saturday, like a Saturday morning cartoon, starting at 8 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern. Also, if you're on Twitter, please join the brand new retro gaming community, a place to share, connect, and show your love for the retro gaming community. All the links are down below. And remember, enjoy the Gamers Week podcast.
This time on Gamers Week podcast, I mean, they're probably going to end up with like a junior Tomb Raider, like Lara Croft's like middle school years.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm out.
I believe there's something under the jungle gym.
That was a little bit too perfect.
Because I will be voicing Lara Croft in the anime. I didn't know if you knew that.
No. Don't be modest. You are auditioning to play Lara Croft in the new movie.
Right.
Go ahead and tell him.
It's true. I've been working on my pecs
I
specifically.
was going to say, your assets better be on point. So I had a senior moment today.
Okay.
I went to the grocery store and I'm in the checkout lane, and the cashiers and the baggers, they're all young men who were talking about the Xbox Game Pass and how awesome it is that they only pay $9 a month and they get access to all of these great AAA titles. Like they can't believe that there's AAA titles that are being offered in the Game Pass for this little. And I wanted to just all of a sudden blurt out like, "Oh my God, it's such a great thing, isn't it? Oh, we talked about that on our podcast and yada, yada, yada." But I didn't want to get that look of disgust of like, who is this old guy?
Okay, boomer.
Right.
Is he lost? Do you have one of those little bracelets on you, sir, that tells you who to call or a button we can press for you? So I just left it alone. I didn't say anything, even though I wanted to speak up.
While the kids are turned around, put a sticker on their back or something.
Oh man, I'm going to do that at concerts now. Just walk around and just lightly press it on.
Yeah. Now, if I would have been wearing my Gamers Week podcast hoodie, it would have been like just the perfect scenario.
Oh no, but you would just stand next to him and just point, just be like,
Like, we talked about that.
Are we good now?
I think we're good. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 58, and today is Wednesday, February 1st, 2023. Thanks everyone for tuning in. My name is Blue Williams, and I'll be your host this evening. But I do have with me my two fine co-hosts. Please congratulate my first co-host, who has just qualified for his AARP card after making a Popeye the Sailor Man reference to some junior high kids.
Can't wait to get all the discounts.
And my second co-host secretly wants you to ask him about his authentic, only slightly crusty collection of vintage handkerchiefs. Please, everyone, say hello to Ryan Payne, aka Retro Game Brews, and the one and only Donnie G.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Please do not ask me about any crusty handkerchiefs. That's supposed to be a secret, Blue.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know it's a valued family heirloom, and I thought you might just appreciate a chance to share.
It's passed down through generations to generations, and it's never been washed.
Please make a t-shirt for MGC that says, "Ask me about my crusty handkerchief."
I don't think I will.
All right, let's move on to our reviews, reactions, and requests. First up from Monkey Face, I'm so glad I'm not the only person to sing Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza.
Hold me closer, Tony Danza.
Moda.
Gamer Gone Mild said, sad I didn't win the giveaway, but at least I can now update my dating profile to male/power save settings on.
That legitimately made me laugh out loud when I read that. That was fantastic. Well done, sir.
And finally from Emo-esque, not to be the actually guy, but Elder Scrolls Online is only 9 years old. And yes, that is my bad, everyone. I was doing a quick search for the release date while we were recording, and I guess I typed in Elder Scrolls release date instead of Elder Scrolls Online release date. So I will take that one. I will commit seppuku if it is demanded by the audience.
Approved.
Yes.
You guys are the worst. I was waiting for that. No, we couldn't possibly do this without you. But who will edit the show?
No, oh my God. No, please, no, don't do it.
Thank you.
And now it's time for the
very important poll.
Any guesses as to what that is?
Does not compute. Does not compute. Something from Buck Rogers?
No, but it's a little less boomer, I would say.
Yeah, so your Popeye and spinach is my Buck Rogers. Okay,
There it is.
Now I'm not sure about my guess. I was thinking was Dr. Evil from Inspector Gadget?
Dr. Claw, yes.
Claw.
Dr. Claw, crap.
Yes.
Dr. Claw.
Yes,
Okay.
Dr.
Yeah.
Evil.
Closer. It is actually Megatron from the Transformers.
Oh,
I didn't make the voice changer thing, okay?
now if you could have done like Soundwave or something from Transformers, I probably would have gotten that one.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
You always do, so it's kind of a normal thing now.
We're not pulling any punches tonight, are we?
Oh, yeah, jeez.
Miss Goosey.
So, as you know, every Monday on Twitter, we post our VIP or very important poll. And if you'd like to participate, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC. Question for the week was, besides video games, what are you most likely to play when visiting an arcade? So coming in third place, which was pointed out to me almost immediately that I did not spell this correctly. I did SKI, not SKEE, but skee ball.
The actually crowd is strong tonight.
Indeed.
Yes, they are.
Skee ball came in at 15.9%. Air hockey came in at 27.8%. And taking this with no surprise whatsoever, pinball wins it with a whopping 50.4% of the vote. But still, 5.8% of you said other. So let's look at some of the comments from the poll. Starting with Sanity Crypto. If they got the punching bag game, we playing. SMB Flurry. As a kid, I loved the TMT pizza drop. You drop a plastic golf ball into a hole at the top and then watch it bounce like a Plinko and maybe get some tickets. Nothing like teaching kids to gamble at a very young age, eh? Madman Inco said the hockey machine that had the dome around it. That game was awesome.
Bubble hockey.
Exactly. Bubble hockey or dome hockey, I've heard it is called as well. Planet Matt said, I like the basketball games. And Geek with That said, shout out to any game that gives me a hammer and tells me to hit with it.
Especially the little kids. Wait, what? No, I didn't say that.
Anything that runs by at that height, though, it's fair game.
Right? Bonk. Mom!
So based off of this, Blue, what did you pick for this week's poll?
Well, this was a little bit tough for me because when you start veering more into those sportsy type games like the skee ball, air hockey, basketball, whatever, then you start getting more away from being an arcade and more to like a general entertainment place, more like a Dave & Buster's as opposed to an actual arcade. And I don't like those places. I want to go to an arcade. I want to play video games. So the choice for me had to be pinball because pinball and video games have a long history together of essentially being the black sheep of society where respectable people didn't want their children going there and playing those games. So you can almost always, even in a true arcade, find some pinball machines. And so that was my answer.
You bring up a good point. I think pinball was banned if memory serves me correct, in New York City for like 30 years because it was considered gambling.
Yeah, I don't remember which location it was, but yes, pinball was outlawed for a little bit.
Oh, how the definition of gambling has been stretched since then.
Donnie, what about you?
Even though I only chose one, I am choosing two because I love pinball just as much as I love playing video games. There are classic pinball machines out there like the Lethal Weapon, the Demolition Man, the Addams Family, which is one of my favorite ones of all times.
Oh, yeah.
So anytime I go to an arcade or an arcade bar that has pinball machines, I always drop a couple quarters in there. But skee ball is a very, very close second. I do love me some skee ball. I find it very challenging. I'm always trying to go for the top left 100 points hole, which I can kind of typically get. I realized how bad that's.
Do I dare make the obvious joke? Do I really have to?
Well, you always have to go for the high point hole, right?
Right. You got to get that score.
So I try to go for that one. And typically I think you get 10 balls to throw. I can hit it maybe about 40% of the time. So I love skee ball and pinball both.
Nice.
So what about you, Ryan?
So pinball, of course, is kind of the obvious choice, but I don't want to repeat that. But one of the things that I will point out is that I do really love pinball. I grew up with a pinball machine in my house as a kid, the old Chicago, which I think was made by Bally at the time. And so I've always had kind of a love for pinball. Games like Medieval Madness, Black Knight, the Metallica one is fantastic. I love those. But really, if there is a bubble hockey game at an arcade, there's 100% chance that I will play it, especially if I'm with a friend. If not, I will recruit somebody. I'll be like, let's throw down, man. I'm USA, you're Canada. Let's do this. And
why do I have to be Canada?
I'm not very good at the game, but I just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I've always wanted one myself, and my dad ended up picking me up one that didn't have the dome over it. That was fun, but the only thing is you end up chasing the puck quite a bit. So that bubble certainly helps, and just the sounds coming out of it as well are just super fun. So I love bubble hockey.
So quick question. What happens if the only person around that you can recruit to play bubble hockey is some little kid, and you have to lure him away and say, hey kid, come over here. Like, I want you to play some bubble hockey. Like, how bad is that going to look? That mom is just looking around like, oh my God, where's Timmy? But he's over there playing bubble hockey with RGB.
I wouldn't do that because I don't want to end up in some kind of registry somewhere. So, thank you for that, though.
The more likely scenario, he's going to recruit the mom to play.
Exactly. Yo, what's up?
Exactly.
What's up, baby?
How you
play some
doing?
bubble hockey?
Bubble hockey gets the babes.
When the puck drops, so does the panties.
All right, let's move on to our patron shoutouts.
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. JNL Game, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Kinnair, Ducks in Disguise, Jim and Colleen, Games with Coffee, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, Davey PGH, the Red Ox PDX family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach Huge Thanks, Rerun Gamer, Number 1 Blue Sick Voice Fan, Random Retro Dude, Princess Kitty Mew Mew, Rai Rai's Secret Best Friend, Mega Retro Man, Gametroid, Emo-esque, Bill Tucker, Ryebread's Number 1 Fan, Fruitcake's Number 1 Stan, Ducks with Thick Thighs, The Wizard of Zardoz, Claymon 71, Great Saiyaman 81, BNT Zilla Guy, Geek With That, Crunchy Kong, Sherf Snacks, and Frank Grande. If you like what you hear today, and we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek, or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
All right, let's move on to our headline segment, which is, of course, proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob and Hugh pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Right now, they want to know what was your most disappointing video game rental and why. Send your answers to email@retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes. So can you guys remember an especially disappointing video game rental?
The myriad of SNES games that weren't Street Fighter 2.
That we're trying to be.
I mean, like King of Fighters. There's Ranma. I remember renting Ranma Half from Blockbuster one night because Street Fighter 2 was all rented out. And I got home and I'm like, what the hell is this stuff? Like, I couldn't figure out the moves, or the moves were just lame and janky. And I didn't play it. I spent my money to rent it, and I think I went outside the entire weekend.
Like it's freaking 1940 or something.
Right? I think I'll go spin a stick through a hoop or something.
Right.
All right, from Game Informer, the PlayStation Plus collection disappears in May. Sony is closing the PlayStation Plus collection, the batch of PS4 essentials that PS Plus subscribers on PS5, that's a lot of PS in a row, could download and play for no extra charge. In an email sent to subscribers, the message states that on May 9th, the 19 game collection will disappear and subscribers will have up until that date to add games to their game library. Sony didn't provide a reason as to why it's closing the collection, but it also clarifies that other PS Plus perks, such as monthly games, will not be affected. The PS Plus collection launched alongside the PS5 as an added bonus to those owners. In a way, it served as a mini version of Xbox Game Pass, albeit only featuring last-gen titles. The collection has remained largely the same since 2020, with a couple of titles joining the roster and only Persona 5 being removed from the original lineup. Last year, Sony had added 2 premium PlayStation Plus subscription tiers that give those members access to a much larger and more regularly updated library of games across multiple generations of PlayStation. Premium members can access most, though not all, of these titles, so perhaps Sony wants to incentivize standard PS Plus subscribers to upgrade. Regardless, be sure to nab these games now if you haven't already before the May 9th deadline sneaks up on you.
So you buy a PS5, you could download and play these games in that collection for no extra charge. Basically, you're getting those games for free.
That's what it has been up until now. And our theory really was, when they first announced this, was because the launch library of the PS5 was so sparse because of pandemic delays and all that kind of stuff. They were missing out on a lot of key titles that I think they had counted on. And so this was a way to bolster that launch library by making good use of their, I guess you want to call them top tier titles that they weren't necessarily selling for full price anymore, or really getting full price for anymore, and use those as a way to incentivize people to buy a PS5, as if you really had to do that because they flew off the shelves like crazy. But
Right.
it's been a nice perk up until now, even though I really haven't paid too much attention to them, because a lot of the titles, if you're any sort of Sony fan at all, you've already got probably most of these games, like Bloodborne, Call of Duty, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15, God of War, Monster Hunter World, etc., etc. So it's been really great. And to hear that they're getting rid of it, it kind of sucks.
But it's like taking off the training wheels, right? They finally have matured into a console that doesn't need a buffer from last console to thrive because they got enough games now, right?
I mean, you're right, but it does kind of hammer home the point that unless you pay for a higher tier, they really don't give a rat's ass about you.
Right.
Indeed.
You are the lower level pleb that can barely afford the entry, the basic entry fee. And it's like, yeah, you should just be happy that we've allowed you to have access to this.
Though I will say there was a tweet, and I don't know who it was, but somebody had posted about this. They got the email, and they pointed out that at the bottom of the email, they had the PlayStation tagline and logo, and it says, PlayStation, play without limits, after they're telling you they're
Play without limits up until May 9th.
So I love that. I wish I remembered who tweeted that, but that was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And I currently have the highest tier because I got grandfathered in. But when it comes back around to renew this summer, I'm not going to do it because I've barely used it.
And how much did that cost you in order to get that?
I think it's $60 for the year.
Oh, okay. Okay. But now it's like in order to get the highest tier, it's like $120, something like that.
Well, to be fair, the other is $120 as well if you get Game Pass and
That's true, yeah.
so, I mean, they are the same.
You're going to get that top tier service if you spend $120 a year.
Right.
You're going to get your feet rubbed, your shoulders massaged, everything you want, sparkling water at your fingertips.
I do like sparkling water.
But I'm looking for those 19 game collections for the price of On the House, though.
I see what you did there. Now you're being condescending. Let's move forward amicably with the sale.
But I guess at least if you have the base tier, you still get the monthly free games, which there really never has been too much that I wanted, except for Stray. Stray was a notable exception. That's probably been the only time where I've really gone, hey, I'm really glad I have this.
Right.
So that was a $120 game for me.
And I had PlayStation Plus for a hot minute back in the day when I was still using my PS3. I remember whenever they rolled it out, and I was so mad at Sony because before, when the PS3 came out, you didn't have to pay to play online. Mm-hmm. You could get online and play multiplayer games on the PlayStation 3 at no extra charge. If you went over to Microsoft on the Xbox 360, you had to have an Xbox Live account to be able to play multiplayer games online. And I thought that was so cheesy. And when Sony instituted this, they said, hey, sorry, you got to have a PlayStation Plus to play online. It's like, come on, man, really? You were giving it away for free before, and now you're going to a pay-as-you-go model.
Right. Well, and I think that's the crux of this whole thing is that why give away something for free when you can make people pay for it?
Going to start charging for hugs.
Do you have that many takers?
I do. You'd be surprised.
Oh, well.
From GameSpot, new Tomb Raider movie reportedly in the works as part of Amazon's huge plans for MCU-like franchise. Amazon is reportedly planning a Marvel-style Tomb Raider universe. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Amazon is attempting to create a connected world of Tomb Raider with games, TV series, and films all tied together. Sources told THR that Amazon is working with DJ2 Entertainment on the film and the upcoming TV series. This is apparently a gigantic deal, with one source telling THR that Amazon's investment into the reported Tomb Raider connected universe would be among Amazon's largest commitments after The Lord of the Rings. In addition to Amazon's reported Tomb Raider projects, Netflix is working with DJ2 Entertainment on a Tomb Raider anime series. The Tomb Raider film series debuted in 2001 with a movie starring Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft. Jolie also starred in the 2003 sequel, The Cradle of Life. The franchise was rebooted in 2018 with Oscar winner Alicia Vikander in the lead role. The movie did not perform very well in the US, where it made $58 million, but it earned more than $200 million from international markets for a total of $274.6 million against a reported $94 million budget. Plans were said to be in place for a Tomb Raider sequel starring Vikander, but when the Tomb Raider movie rights went up for sale in 2022, Vikander dropped out. It's very early days for the next Tomb Raider movie, so there's no word yet on who might play Lara Croft in Amazon's rumored film. Is the lore there for all of this?
That's the thing. And I'll start off by saying that I hate that creating a Marvel-style connected universe is now the goal of every company ever.
Right.
I hate that is what entertainment has become. And the fact that they've tried to do Tomb Raider movies twice now, and neither was really that successful, I think it kind of proves that this is maybe just a franchise that needs to stay a video game.
It's just they had the wrong vision before. All it takes is somebody to come along with the... Yeah, right.
I'm curious about the anime, though. I think that you could probably do some fun stuff with the anime, but coming up with a TV series and a movie series on top of that as well just seems like too much. What other characters are we going to bring into this that I would feel familiar with?
The butler that you locked in the freezer.
Get me out of here.
It's just, you're right. There's nowhere near is it deep enough. And then, so what you're doing is you're creating as you go. And then that it turns into the TV show Lost, where you don't know where you're going to go with it.
Right.
You're just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it sticks. I really don't see this having the longevity that I think they're expecting. Because essentially, Tomb Raider is just Indiana Jones with, a female lead, more or less, right?
Pretty much.
Right.
I just think that there are so many other enterprises that they could pull from. Like, one that comes immediately to mind is Metal Gear Solid. You could make, the amount of lore that covers all that entire game series, or hell, even a Silent Hill series, something like that.
Whoa,
Why not do that?
Whoa.
Pump the brakes there, buddy.
Yeah, don't drag Silent Hill into this dumpster fire. Okay.
What did we do to you?
And Konami, I guess, there's been so many arguments over the last however many years that they are terribly neglectful of their biggest IP, but I guess not doing anything with it, you could argue that it's better than making something that tarnishes the IP.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
And an attempt like this to create a Marvel Cinematic Universe of Metal Gear, you really think that's going to go well?
I don't know if they would need to create a Marvel style. Throw that term out the window, okay? Because it doesn't need to be like that. You don't need to have several different sets of media to try and connect everything together. I think just a nice series would do wonders, but it doesn't have to be a Marvel style cinematic.
But that's what Amazon wants. They said, we need a Marvel Cinematic Universe of something. What IP do we have available? Tomb Raider. Okay, let's do that. I mean, they don't care what it is.
Well, Amazon can suck it.
Just imagining in their office, they had a big spinny wheel, Who put fucking Tomb Raider on the board?
Damn it, Jeff.
Well, she's hot, man.
All right, I guess we're doing Tomb Raider. Thanks, Jeff.
I mean, they're probably going to end up with like a junior Tomb Raider, like Lara Croft's like middle school years.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm out.
She's exploring the playground this time.
I believe there's something under the jungle gym.
That was a little bit too perfect.
Because I will be voicing Lara Croft in the anime. I didn't know if you knew that.
No. Don't be modest. You are auditioning to play Lara Croft in the new movie.
Right.
Go ahead and tell him.
It's true. I've been working on my pecs specifically.
I was going to say, your assets better be on point.
It's like, yeah, what move is it in the gym that makes him pointy like that?
If I had to tell you, I'd have to kill you. So
It's just secret of the trade, I see.
Yes.
All right, next up from Gizmodo, the average American male is too large to ride Super Nintendo World's Mario Kart ride. Mario fans flocking to Universal Studios Hollywood this month for the opening of Super Nintendo World may find themselves unable to enjoy the park's most exciting attraction, this time because of their waistline. According to a recent report in the Wall Street Journal, Universal Studios Hollywood has warned that some guests might not be allowed to ride Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, which allows guests to climb aboard a go-kart and experience the popular Nintendo racing game in real life through augmented reality effects and animatronic characters, if their waistline measures 40 inches or more. With the average male waist size in America now exceeding 40 inches, that limitation is going to potentially leave many guests very disappointed after enduring what will probably be very long lines at the new attraction. Trackless vehicles now deftly weave through attractions like Galaxy's Edge's Rise of the Resistance with more speed and agility than the ride vehicles used on classic attractions like the Pirates of the Caribbean. As a result, while Pirates doesn't restrain riders, Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge will, as there is a serious risk of injury should a rider exit a vehicle before the ride is finished. On top of that, there's now even more emphasis on safely securing smaller children in the same seats used by adult riders, which contributes to more limitations for larger guests. Some attractions, like Universal's Islands of Adventures, the Incredible Hulk coaster in Florida, now offers certain seats specifically designed for larger guests. But as the pandemic-weary population is embracing traveling and vacations again, theme parks are bursting at the seams with hours-long wait lines, and there's simply less incentive for parks to offer rides with seats they may not be able to fill every time the ride is operated.
So these cars are the slim fit.
the skinny jeans.
I mean, I was pretty surprised when I read this at the 40-inch limitation, because that's not really that big. It's not like you're on a reality show like My 600-Pound Life or something like that.
Right.
A 40-inch waist is perfectly normal. So I can see this being a complete disaster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially for the person who waits about 3 hours to get up there on the ride and doesn't fit, and then just has a meltdown as they're trying to get up on the ride.
Yeah, it's going to create a terrible experience for your average guest, since the average waistline of the American male is now above this. So your average guest isn't going to have a terrible experience. And your poor employees are going to get reamed left and right over this for something that they have no part of. Can you imagine being some teenage kid working a summer job, having to go up and tell somebody they're too fat to ride the ride?
Yeah.
They're going to get punched.
Yeah. Sorry, minimum wage is not enough for that.
What'd you say to my wife?
What an interesting choice to make. I mean, I get it that the impetus of this was to try to make the carts available to both kids and adults, but man, what a lack of foresight for that. Mm-hmm. And are you going to have somebody who's out in front with a, like one of those tape measurers to go, oh, nope, like instead of the height list, where they got the hand that says you need to be this high to ride the ride? That seems insane. Well, absolutely insane.
Even, let's say they put a sample car out in front and said, please see if you fit in this car before you get in line and save yourself the time. Right. But a certain percentage of people won't see it or won't bother.
Right.
So
they've got their nose stuck in their phones and like, oh, right. I'm sorry, I missed it. So can I just go on the ride?
You're right. Trying to make the car as accommodating to as many sizes of people as possible really has the opposite effect, I think,
exactly.
In that if it fits everyone, it fits no one very well. So what are you going to do if you're sizing the car down to make sure it can be safer for kids, but now their parents can't take them? So now nobody rides it.
And I would imagine that a lot of people are going to this park specifically to ride that ride.
Right. It's the biggest attraction in the whole park.
Exactly.
I don't know the first thing about designing rides, but why couldn't you do seatbelts or something that you could actually adjust? I don't understand why it has to be like this.
Being over 6'2", often I struggle with rides anyway by being too tall, unfortunately. So a lot of times when you have those ones that come over your shoulders, it's sticking out, 6 inches in front of my chest, and the guy's pushing on it, come on, get in there. I feel like I'm on a Japanese subway. I'm like, yeah, the shoulders, man. I can't do anything about this. And so I feel generally unsafe on a lot of those rides, to be perfectly frank.
Yeah, I don't see myself going to this park anytime soon. I'm not a huge fan of theme parks to begin with.
Is anybody here a big fan of waiting long hours in lines at amusement parks and theme parks? This stuff is played out whenever I was a kid, and as an adult, it has not gotten a lick better.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single roller coaster ride in the entire world that it would be worth waiting that long for.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
I think, too, Donnie, you having kids probably makes it even worse because they're probably impatient at times. So you have to, you're impatient, you're frustrated, then they get frustrated. So you're frustrated, they're frustrated.
And then we just drop the money for the fast pass and everybody's happy.
Yeah, especially Universal.
Yep.
All right, next up from Time Extension. Sonic was the lesser of two evils, says Sega's former head of marketing. It's hard to think of Sega without picturing Sonic the Hedgehog. Given his amazing popularity over the decades, it's remarkable to consider just how much skepticism there was within Sega surrounding his inception. We've recently spoken to Al Neeson, Sega's head of marketing during the Genesis era, who reveals that the character's selection was very much a case of choosing the lesser of two evils. In 1990, I was chosen by Mr. Nakayama, the head of Sega, to choose who would be the mascot because they had their mascot contest, explains Nielsen. I was presented with two colored boards. The first was this egg-shaped character, which I felt in the US would be very preschool. And then there was a hedgehog, a blue hedgehog. I was like, what's a hedgehog? He had a rock band and a human girlfriend who looked like Marilyn Monroe and was named Madonna. This is so awesome. These were two choices that I had, and I chose Sonic because of it. Was the lesser of two evils. I had no gameplay or anything like that. Nielsen continues, fast forward 9 months, and I had heard nothing about it since. I was in Sega R&D in Japan, and from across the room, I see two monitors. One of the first monitors was this wireframe with something spinning at super speed. And I was like, I've never seen a game like this before. And the speed was amazing. Then it stopped, and it was Sonic. That thing that I'd seen 9 months before. I just fell in love with it. Sonic would, of course, become a smash hit and gave Sega a valuable weapon in its battle against Nintendo.
This description of early Sonic reads like just a random list of what things do Americans like.
Right.
You throw like a cheeseburger in there or something, you know?
Right. Rock bands, and they like Madonna, right? Yeah, we'll name the girlfriend Madonna, which I guess there's precedent now for Sonic 06 when he's kissing the human girl. There's precedent for it because he before had a human girlfriend.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
Right.
It was some guy who was there at that design meeting that has been pushing for it for the last 16 years. And they're finally like, fine, we'll include the human girlfriend. Can we call her Madonna? No. I can imagine Madonna being super pissed as well if that actually came out that it was right. Imagine that.
So how does it feel knowing that everything we know and love about Sonic came down to a coin flip?
Basically, right?
Yeah. Like if that were to be Sonic, if they said this is Sonic, an egg, I think maybe Sega goes belly up a lot sooner than later.
I mean, even with the same attitude, like if you don't move the egg for too long, he stands there and taps his foot at you.
I think it would have.
What would it take to sell an egg as a main character?
I think there is actually a main character that Codemasters came up with it. It was like their mainstay game. Let me remember what it was. It's Dizzy.
There is a platformer where you play as an egg.
Yes, it's Dizzy from Codemasters. It's so terrible.
Right.
Yep. I have that game.
And there's a bunch of Dizzy games. Even
as good as the game design was in Sonic the Hedgehog, if you imagine playing that with Dizzy instead.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's a tough sell.
Especially like Mario is he's a plumber, yes, but, there's an allure to him, right? He's got this mustache, he's got his overalls, like he fits the bill. And of course, he was in Donkey Kong as well, so it made sense to bring him over to Nintendo. But to introduce a character that looked like an egg that had legs, basically Humpty Dumpty, more or less.
Right.
No way would Sega be the powerhouse that it was in the 90s with that mascot.
Right. So, and Sega's whole brand was built on Sonic's attitude.
Right,
so we probably wouldn't even remember the name Sega if they had gone with the egg.
So a mustache automatically equals allure?
In my book, it does, sir.
I like that. That. I have an allure.
Oh.
Hey. No takebacks.
All right. I'll give it to you this time.
Ooh, say that again.
Phrasing.
Jesus. Anything I say is going to be turned into that, so I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
Deliver Us Mars. PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, PC. The sequel to the award-winning Deliver Us the Moon, Deliver Us Mars is an atmospheric sci-fi adventure offering an immersive astronaut experience. Explore new frontiers on a suspense-fueled, high-stakes mission to recover the Ark colony ships stolen by the mysterious Outward. Experience a highly polished and absorbing narrative experience packed with engaging gameplay. Every moment is handcrafted, delivering a suspense-filled, emotion-fueled narrative alongside music from an award-winning composer, Sander Van Zanten. State-of-the-art motion capture, stunning graphics, and a real-time ray-traced shadows and reflections, powered by Unreal Engine. Season, A Letter to the Future. Platform PS5, PS4, and PC. Immerse yourself in the world of Season, a third-person meditative exploration game. Leave home for the first time to collect memories before a mysterious cataclysm washes everything away. Ride, record, meet people, and unravel the strange world around you. This quest leads you to the big questions. What is this season? Why is it ending? And what will the next season bring? SpongeBob SquarePants, The Cosmic Shake. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Wish-granting mermaids' tears in the hands of SpongeBob and Patrick. What could go wrong? Sure, the very fabric holding the universe together could come undone, opening portals into wild wish worlds. But that's nothing our favorite Sponge can't handle with the right cosmic costume. Unlike classic and new performing skills like the fishhook swing and karate kick, don more than 30 fantastic costumes like Snail Bob and Sponge Gear, and travel to 7 distinct wish worlds like Wild West Jellyfish Fields and Halloween Rock Bottom.
Did that hurt?
I mean, I don't normally talk like SpongeBob, only in the shower every day, but so I wasn't really prepared for it.
I think you have to do quite a vocal warm-up for that.
Yeah, you just can't just jump right into that.
Right.
So based on the description of what we have here this week, Ryan, what are you looking for?
Clearly SpongeBob SquarePants, The Cosmic Shake.
Any particular reason?
No, I'm not going to go with that one. But I will say I've seen some of the images and graphics from it, and it does look good for a SpongeBob game. Yeah, it's what you would expect from an adventure in Bikini Bottom.
So what would you go with then if you aren't going with SpongeBob?
So Seasons, not a very enticing narrative, it sounds like to me.
Right.
But Deliver Us Mars looks interesting. In fact, I would say Deliver Us Mars looks a lot like No Man's Sky from the visuals of it. And it sounds like it's adventures across space. So if I had to pick one out of the three, I'm not like in love with any of these. But I think Deliver Us Mars would be the one that I would pick over these three. If I was like, all right, Ryan, you're going to a desert island and you can only pick from these 3 games, Deliver Us Mars would be it.
Blue, what about you?
Yeah, I'm probably going the same. Season, A Letter to the Future. I'll say that I love that we live in a time where you can make just about any type of game for any type of audience that you want. But these sort of like really deep, emotional, like thought-provoking games, not for me. I prefer a more shallow experience. So, not going to go with that one. SpongeBob, personally, I thought it looked really bad, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, it looks so fakey, like the way that they make computer animated shows for kids that play on PBS in the morning. Like they put the bare minimum of amount into the visuals, just whatever gets it across. That's kind of what it looks like to me.
Don't you dare badmouth Daniel Tiger or Dinosaur Train. Don't you dare. I spent a lot of hours watching those shows.
So it's Stockholm Syndrome for you. That's why you love them.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would rather they try to make it actually look like a cartoon, maybe like cell shaded or something like that. But maybe then I would be interested in it. But not being the biggest SpongeBob fan to begin with, I'm not going with that one, which narrows it down to Deliver Us Mars. And again, I'm not thrilled by it either. But of the 3, I do like exploration. So I'll go with that.
Nice.
Donnie, what about you?
Seasons, A Letter to the Future. It doesn't look like it might be the game for me. The art style looks pretty cool. To me, it almost looks like it's Breath of the Wild done in that same kind of style. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. But as far as the other 2 go, I'm not a big SpongeBob gamer, but this one looked great. I like the way it was designed. So if it's got some of the crazy antics that the show provides, I would like to give this one a try. Deliver Us Mars, space exploration. As much as I do like to explore, it feels like with some of these games that have just too much to do, I don't know what to do. Case in point, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Fallout.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, exactly. I have a hard time with that. So I would like to play Deliver Us Mars, but it just depends on how it plays. Mm-hmm. Potentially, I could see myself playing all 3 of these.
All right, let's move on to our main topic. From Game Rant, Hogwarts Legacy's controversies are a sign every future Harry Potter game needs to distance itself from J.K. Rowling. Hogwarts Legacy appears to have everything it needs to be one of the best-selling games of 2023. Unfortunately, the game has had to battle with negative publicity, and most of it arises from author J.K. Rowling's transphobic comments. If Avalanche Software is thinking about its long-term plans, it likely doesn't want Hogwarts Legacy to be its last Harry Potter game. However, it does not seem like Rowling is going to stop being a problem anytime soon. Hence, the studio needs to find a way to fully divorce its future games from the controversial author. For most of her career, J.K. Rowling has been a beloved figure admired for her creativity and her philanthropic work. The Harry Potter series preaches tolerance and acceptance, causing it to gain sentimental value among youths who relate to the protagonist's feelings of not fitting in. Although there has been criticism of some elements of the wizarding world, the belief that Rowling acts in good faith has kept both her and her franchise with a wholesome image.
Things change when Rowling's publicly espoused trans exclusionary views. Rowling claims that her concerns lie with the protection of women and womanhood, though her words and actions have been harmful to trans people. Hogwarts Legacy, which is inspired by Rowling's novel series, has inevitably found itself drawn into the controversy. The developers have made sincere attempts to distance Hogwarts Legacy from Rowling's public statements, which have been made clarifying that the author is not involved in the game's development, and the game goes out of its way to be inclusive as possible. Nevertheless, Rowling's loud transphobia has ensured that the game can never completely run away from the outrage that she generates. In response, some gamers have called for a boycott of Hogwarts Legacy. Reset Era has also banned discussion of the game. Despite these obstacles, Hogwarts Legacy has attracted heaps of pre-orders, causing it to top the charts on Steam and Amazon. This illustrates the interest in the Harry Potter IP is still high, though future games will have to take serious steps to ensure that they do not find themselves linked to Rowling.
Although she has faced severe public backlash from fans and performers that have appeared in the past Harry Potter films, Rowling has firmly and unapologetically stuck to her position, believing herself to be morally justified. With her showing no signs of slowing down her transphobic tirade or apologizing for her past statements, it seems that her transphobic legacy is something all future Harry Potter products will have to grapple with. Consequently, many projects related to Harry Potter have attempted to distance themselves from Rowling. Rowling has left gamers between a rock and a hard place. Supporting the game signals that her creations will thrive regardless of the hate she spews. However, boycotts are more likely to affect innocent developers rather than the wealthy author. If Avalanche Software could succeed in giving Hogwarts Legacy an identity separate from Rowling without compromising on authenticity, it could have a very successful franchise on its hands.
Now, I will say this is a kind of a difficult topic to discuss. I think people have pretty strong opinions one way or the other. At the end of the day, though, I think it's a broader conversation that says, can you separate the content from the creator and still enjoy it?
And it's pretty relevant recently. I mean, are you still allowed to enjoy Rick and Morty? Can you still listen to Kanye West? Can you still watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Right.
It is a moral gray area where, like you said, can you separate the person from their work and still enjoy their work? Or are you inherently, as this suggests, supporting the creator when you do that?
It seems like if you don't automatically stop support for whatever has to do with that particular person, you are just as guilty as that person.
And yeah, and I think response to these kinds of things definitely lies on a scale, right? You definitely have those people who say you need to burn the Harry Potter books and you need to break the DVD copies you have of the movies and do all these things. And if you don't, then you're just as transphobic as she is. And then you have other people who say, well, I still enjoy this stuff and it's not hurting anybody if I read the books again. So whatever. And then a lot of people fall somewhere on that scale. The past several years have shown that there are very few game companies out there that are squeaky clean.
Right.
And so if you want to start boycotting for cause, there is no shortage of companies that you could do. I mean, we've talked recently about Diablo 4. There are so many reasons that you could boycott all of Activision Blizzard's games, but nobody is talking about it the way they're talking about boycotting Hogwarts Legacy. And I kind of wonder if that's because so much of the calls for boycotts of this game come from outside the gaming community. There's, so many people that work for this company. We want to support the workers that are trying to go to work every day in these environments. And boycotts don't traditionally work with games anyway.
That's a good point. And one of the other things I think that you brought up here, that it's a spectrum. I think a lot of times when it comes to these types of topics and choices, is that it is a personal choice. It's you having to make the choice based off of what you feel is correct. The downfall of that is, you're not just playing Kirby's new game where nobody really cares about that. There's no politics behind that, but this is a politically charged thing. And so I think one of the things that they brought up in this article that rings true is that regardless of what they put out there, there's always going to be that aura around it. And it becomes a pretty difficult thing to navigate as a gamer. Should I be publicly talking about my enjoyment of this game if I decide to go with it? If I boycott it, is that something that's also going to give me backlash?
Right.
But at the end of the day, you have to make that choice for yourself.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
If she's licensing this stuff to people for everybody to make money, and if that continues to happen, then she's not going away anytime soon. So
Right.
I don't know how you can distance yourself from her viewpoints, from the creator's viewpoints, if she still controls everything.
The only way out that I could possibly see is if she pulled a George Lucas, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, what? Here's a lump sum and I am selling the entire IP.
Okay.
Even then, even though George Lucas doesn't own Star Wars, it is still hands down his legacy. And Harry Potter will always be J.K. Rowling's legacy. So I guess in some ways, I'll consider myself fortunate because I don't care about Harry Potter that much. I enjoyed some of the books, not all of them. I wasn't going to play this game anyway. But I can imagine that if you're somebody who grew up with this IP, who it means so much to you. Maybe it was the thing that got you through your childhood and gave you the strength to stand up to bullies and to be yourself and whatever. To see that this is happening and to wonder if you're still allowed to like this thing that means so much to you. That's a terrible place to be.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
There are a lot of people out there that consume the books. They go to the wizarding world of Harry Potter, and they're even the people who took the butter beer and made recipes for that. It's really difficult to still be proud to be a fan when so much of what you've loved is soiled by this just concept that the author doesn't share your same views.
And I guess maybe that's the only comfortable, or at least semi-comfortable way, a compromise, if you will, that you can come to some sort of conclusion on this. Because I guess in the podcast, if you were hoping that we would give you an answer one way or the other, whether we think you should boycott it or not, we're not going to do that.
No.
I think the best we can hope for here is that you make your own personal decision after thinking through it, and you have to allow other people to have that same consideration. If they decide differently from you, it doesn't mean that they should be demonized.
No, it definitely should not be.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could take that same consideration into many aspects of life, but for now, we'll stop with Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, it definitely seems that you can't have an opinion on anything these days without somebody else just coming down on you hard for that personal opinion.
Social media, man.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that social media does really, really well is encourage snap judgments, because we're limited to discussing complex topics in 280 characters. So I think it encourages people to make blanket statements, to make snap judgments. And then because you don't actually have to confront the person that you're calling out, it's far easier to just write people off. And whether or not you actually truly understand what they mean, because all of us have said a tweet that came out the way we didn't mean it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's so difficult to express yourself in text only without any sort of the social cues that you can get face to face, nonverbal communications, that kind of stuff, or just the opportunity for somebody to say, I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what you're saying. Could you extrapolate or whatever, or let's have it back and forth. And maybe we will change our mind once we've had a chance to talk to somebody, but social media does not encourage that kind of discourse. It's far easier to just put people on blast, block them, and then pat yourself on the back for it.
Mm-hmm. Look at me. I did good today.
Right.
Everybody has goals, Donnie.
Hashtag goals.
But I'll echo this idea that, we as a podcast, I don't think we're qualified to make the decision for you. I don't plan on playing it myself. That's not a game that I'm really that interested in. But I empathize with people on both ends of the spectrum trying to make that choice and feeling that they're doing the right thing.
And I think at the end of the day, you just have to give people the benefit of the doubt that hopefully they're trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not, but I guess it's not your job to police every single person. Hopefully.
It's not?
Hopefully. I know Twitter might give you the different impression, but yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a tough topic because I think, especially when it comes to folks who are trans and see this as an attack on them based off of her success and things. I get it. I totally get it. And yes, she's going to make money off of it, but she's going to make money off of of everything anyway. So
that's true. Doesn't matter if it's a game. It doesn't matter if it's the Wizarding World at Universal Studios. She's going to be making money.
And she's already got more money than anyone would ever need anyway.
Right. Even if she never makes another cent, she's not going to show up at Walmart on Black Friday trying to get the 10 for $10 socks or whatever.
You don't know. Rich people can be extremely thrifty.
She's very frugal.
Yeah.
But it would be so much more of a cut and dry thing if she was a solo dev making this game. Then you could just say, it would be easy to make that distinction, but she's not. There's so many people who are putting their effort and hard work into this. And so to say that because she'll make some money that no one should make any money, that's a tough call to make.
Sure.
Right.
And actually I had a friend who is trans and her opinion on it was that she just happens to like Harry Potter. So she's going to play the game. And that's her choice.
That's absolutely true. Before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by the Elitist Podcast. It's a show where 3 friends and occasional guests play games about video games, including trivia, game show games, and more. Here is this week's trivia question. Sewell. Ah, yes, Simlish, that wacky made-up language prominently featured in the Sims franchise. However, the first game that featured Simlish wasn't The Sims, but which game? And yes, this question is absolutely an excuse to hear Gamers Week give their best Simlish. I'm sorry, I probably didn't do it well. I've never played The Sims.
I played The Sims all for like a good 20 minutes. And I'm like, what? This is way too much work. And I just like, nope, no thanks.
I'm in the same boat. I had a friend who played it and I went, what's the appeal here? And he goes, oh, watch this. I'll just lock them in a room and set it on fire. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I got it.
So it appeases to the masochist crowd.
No, that's not even the masochist crowd. That's like the straight up psychopath crowd.
Which explains a lot about him. So I'm not surprised.
Oh, gosh.
Like Ted Bundy loved The Sims.
So any guesses as to what game it is?
For the first game that featured Simlish wasn't The Sims, but which game? Okay. So I'm thinking it's in the Sims franchise. So
that is correct.
I'm probably
redacted.
I think that's the earliest Sim thing I've ever played, or at least know.
That is incorrect.
Huh.
You are very close, though. You are close.
I don't know anything about the Sims games. Just they all seem the same.
And this isn't officially a Sims game in the sense that it's Sims 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. It's before that. And I actually guessed this correct. I'm so proud of myself.
Okay. I mean, my guess was
redacted.
I guess that's wrong. So
the correct answer is a game that me and my brother played the ever-loving crap out of. And that was
redacted.
Yep.
You and your weird redacted games.
Yeah, I liked that game a lot. It was weird and it was fun. And what was cool about it is that you could, because that's
Woo!
fun.
No.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, students. Please take your seats. Welcome back to Professor Ryebread's Gaming History 101. And in today's lesson, we're going to do something a little different. There's so many random facts in the history of gaming that don't really have an entire history worth of content to cover. So tonight, we're going to present 11 random facts about the history of gaming. That's right, 11.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
This goes to 11.
So let's see how many of these you knew. So number 1, Doki Doki Panic. Just kidding.
I was like, really? I'm cutting this one.
All the characters in the first Mortal Kombat game were played by actors in motion caption performances except for one. Goro was a stop-motion action figure. In future games, other stop-motion action figures included Kintaro for Mortal Kombat 2, Shiva and Motaro for Mortal Kombat 3. I am personally lobbying for Gumby to be the next final boss in the Mortal Kombat series.
I think he was in
Gumby's
Clay
already
Fighter.
Clay Fighter, isn't he?
Kind of. But I think he needs some kind of like fatality thing. I really think that would work out well.
Maybe he pulls out Pokey from his chest and
like the alien. I love it. Let's make it happen.
yes, please.
Number 2, the youngest video gamer to achieve a perfect score on the expert setting of Dance Dance Revolution was Ryota Wada of Japan. He was 9 at the time of his achievement, and it took him 4 years of DDR practice to achieve this record.
Jeez.
Don't tell your dad. He was already disappointed enough with how you turned out.
No.
Number 3, it's often believed that Adventure for Atari 2600 contains the first Easter egg in gaming history. However, recently it was discovered that a game called Moonlander in 1973 for the DEC GT40, created by Jack Burness, contains not one but 2 Easter eggs. If you explore the lunar landscape, eventually you will come across a square building with 2 arches next to it. If you crash into the building, a message will read, "Well, you've just destroyed the only McDonald's on the moon. What a clod." And if you land next to the structure, your astronaut will exit, walk over to the building, and order, as I quote, 2 cheeseburgers and a Big Mac to go. I guess your space flight leaves you hungry.
Interesting.
Number 4. Tetris has a lot of accolades to its name, including being one of the first games to become a worldwide hit hailing from Russia, and is widely considered to be the game that helped sell the Game Boy, and is considered to be the most ported game of all time, finding its way to 65 different platforms. However, the next fact is out of this world. Literally.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. I'm so corny. One of its coolest accolades is that it's the first game ever to be played in space. In 1993, the Game Boy version came aboard the Soyuz TM-17 rocket, meeting the Mir space station. A Russian cosmonaut, Serabov A. Alexander, was the first to play it. No word if he yelled, "Boom, Tetris for Serabov." But we are disappointed he didn't bring a second Game Boy and a link cable, as we all know sharing is caring.
They are neck and neck. Sorbov is neck and neck.
Yuck and yuck. Number 5, ColecoVision, or Connecticut Leather Company, created its own video game console in 1982 with the ColecoVision. However, they aren't the only or even first leather company to get into the video game market. Tandy Corporation, originally Hickney Tandy Leather Company, purchased Radio Shack in 1962 and eventually would create the TRS-80 computer in 1977 and the TRS-80 color computer in 1980. As both companies no longer exist, I guess one could say that getting into the gaming industry steered them in the wrong direction.
Please stop.
What, you don't like these puns? All right, number 6. The Sega Neptune is an unproduced 2-in-1 Genesis and 32X console, which Sega planned to release in the fall of 1995, with the retail price planned to be something less than $200. It featured as early as March 1995, with Sega Magazine saying the console shows Sega's commitment to the hardware, and that the system would be compatible with the Mega CD. Sega canceled the Neptune in October of 1985, citing fears that it would dilute their marketing for the Sega Saturn while being priced too close to the Saturn to be a viable competitor. Sega was doing the Google thing before it was cool.
I knew all about this. I knew all about that, and it still hurts to this day.
Yes, it does.
It's too soon, okay? It's too soon for money.
Let's move past it.
Number 7, the game Mother 2 is exactly the same as Earthbound, except for a few key differences. Some examples include the Fuzzy Pickles Man, as he is known colloquially to players of Earthbound, tells players to say cheese sandwich in Mother 2, rather than Fuzzy Pickles. The town Threed in Earthbound is called Threek in Mother 2. The pencil statues in Earthbound are octopus statues in Mother 2. And when you first enter Magicent in Earthbound, Ness is in his pajamas, but is naked in Mother 2. And finally, Pokey's dad gives Pokey a quick spanking in Earthbound and gives him a prolonged beating in Mother 2, which is truly disappointing because that little jerk deserved everything that was coming to him. All right. Number 8, Dhalsim from Street Fighter, known for his yoga attacks and stretchy limbs, also dons a necklace of skulls around his neck. These skulls are not the fallen enemies that he has vanquished, but they belong to a group of children who died of illness in his village in India and wears them to honor their memory. Bet you wish you didn't know this little fact, but I had to learn it, and misery loves company.
Wow, I kind of did. Like, as you were reading that, I was like, oh my God, the little skulls belong to children. What did he do to the children? Oh, wait, they an illness? He's honoring that night. I have no idea how to feel about this.
It was a roller coaster ride, to say the least.
Right.
All right, number 9. The current world record for longest gaming session is 138 hours and 34 seconds, set by Carrie Swedecki. Carrie played Just Dance from July 11th to July 17th, 2015 at Autos Video Games and More in Bakerfields, California. She has moves that even Jagger would be jealous of.
But without stopping the entire time? Like,
yes.
No food breaks, no bathroom breaks, no sleeping, no nothing? How's that even possible?
It's dedication, though. Sometimes the impossible is possible if you're dedicated.
And a lot of methamphetamine.
Excuse me, I need to pause in between the dance to do a bump of cocaine here. All right, number 10, Atari's Battlezone is considered to be the first ever commercially successful 3D game. Released in 1980, players control a tank which is attacked by other tanks and missiles using a small radar scanner to locate enemies around them in a barren landscape through the use of vector graphics. The game would go on to win the 1981 Archie Award for Best Commercial Arcade Game and was used by the U.S. military to train their tank gunners. Here's hoping now that they're learning from a PSVR 2 instead. And number 11. Many people attribute the first video game to be Tetris for Two in 1958, and they are right. However, the first game to have players use an interactive electronic display was the cathode ray tube amusement device in 1947. The device simulated an artillery shell arching towards targets on a cathode ray tube screen, which is controlled by the player by adjusting knobs to change the trajectory of a CRT beam spot on the display in order to reach plastic targets overlaid on the screen. Thomas T. Goldsmith Jr. and Estelle Ray Mann constructed the game with analog electronics. The game device was never manufactured or marketed to the public, so it had no effect on the future gaming industry. It only took them 40 years to make the exact same technology for VHS video game consoles in the late 80s.
Hey, a win's a win.
All right, so to wrap things up of our 11 completely random video game facts for this episode of Gaming History 101, tally up how many you got right, and here's how you rank. So 0, you're a normal person, likely with a stable life, and don't spend your time researching video games facts. You are the real MVP. 1 through 3, you have a mild video game addiction and should probably quit before it's too late. Seriously, you don't want to be me. 4 through 6, you're already too far gone. Better just accept the fact that you're never moving out of your parents' basement. So you have your mom whip up a batch of Tostino's pizza rolls and just sit back and enjoy. 7 out of 10 correct. We're assuming that you have a vitamin D deficiency from not seeing the sun in years. You spend way too much time looking up random facts, but admittedly, we're a little jealous. And 11. If you got all 11 right, you're either a really good liar or you should sign up to be an adjunct professor of gaming history at your local community college. We will also be obliged to call you professor from here on out. So, how did you score? Add us at Twitter at GamersWeekPC to let us know how you did. So thank you for attending today's Gaming History 101. And just a reminder, if you have ideas for a story you'd like to hear, send us a message at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com and we might feature your suggestions. Please do not kill me for all the terrible jokes and puns.
And also, I just want to say bagel bites are way better than Tostino pizza rolls.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Bagel bites?
Oh, you never had the bagel bites? Just going to pop open a fresh tab, too, with her bagel bites.
That's a freeze-dried taster's choice.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you for listening to episode 58 of Gamers Week podcast, and a big thank you to the Retro Game Club podcast, the Leadus podcast, and Love Retro BTW for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC, email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com, visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. And finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. So that's it for us tonight. I think I'm going to go make some bagel bites, and I'll catch you guys later.
You're going to go make a bagel bites. I'm going to go play some bubble hockey. Because remember, when the puck drops, there you go.
I love the snap. That sold it for me.
Right, I can see your expression while you're making the snap. That's the sound that expression makes?
Yes,
exactly.
It's the onomatopoeia of his.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night, Ned.
I believe there's something under the jungle gym.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, patrons with benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple, and I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VD-STDs things, right? Make you fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
That was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.